8 minutes now away from 9 o'clock here on Breakfast. Before we get to the news at 9, let's get, I guess, the alternative view, if you like, of the state budget. Roma Britnell, Liberal Party member for the South West Coast, is with us as well. Roma Britnell, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Look, I asked Jacinta Ermacora to name one thing that she wasn't happy with in this budget. Can I do the reverse maybe now and ask you to name, is there anything that you're happy with in this budget that you were pleased to see?
Look, this is just a brutal budget, and you can't dress a lemon up as a strawberry. This is just, I'm absolutely disappointed to the max around what we're not getting in southwest Victoria and how irresponsible this budget is. It's going to increase the debt from $165 billion, more than New South Wales, Queensland and South Australia, and Tasmania's debt put together. It's going to raise taxes, increase income from mums and dads' pockets to not pay down the debt at all. The debt is going to increase out to $171 billion. The daily interest bill for Victorians to pay will go from $10 million a day to $22 million. That's hospitals that can't be built. That's schools that can't be funded. This is the most irresponsible. There is no such thing as a COVID debt. COVID is not responsible. The debt was blowing out in 2018. You only have to look back to see the facts.
If the Liberal Party had won the last election and been in charge of the state's finances now, though, how different do you think yesterday's budget would have looked?
Very different, because there's $31 billion of waste. This has accumulated since the Labor government have been building projects in Melbourne, not regional Victoria, in Melbourne, where their projects like the Northwest Link, the Westgate Tunnel have blown out. Some projects $2.8 billion, some projects $5 billion, but a total of $31 billion. And projects like the suburban rail loop that don't help any regional Victorian at all are not even costed, and every infrastructure independent body says it doesn't have a decent, or it doesn't have any business case, but it doesn't have a return on investment that stacks up for Victorians. So this is a government that's been irresponsibly using our money for a decade. Now, in regional Victoria, we've got crumbling roads, and I'm sorry, but there is clearly a cut to the regional roads budget. The $1.2 million that sits in the line item for roads maintenance asset budget is both regional and metro roads. You can't differentiate. Then you've got these paltry amounts in minor road line items, which are pothole and fixing potholes. It's so difficult for you to work out where the money comes from, because they've changed department names, even in their own time in government, to deliberately make it difficult. And there's been many journalists who have written about how difficult it is. But you look at the line items and compare it from year to year, and you will see $702 million slashed to $441 million last year alone. But it's a 45% cut to road funding from 2020. And if anyone doubts me, just look at the roads. Are they getting better? It's
right.
Pretty clear.
Well, let's have a look at some of the other things that were announced in the budget then. The Treasurer, Tim Pallas, I think when talking about the changes to land tax yesterday, said we think it's fair that Victorians with multiple properties make a modest contribution to repaying COVID debts. Is that a fair thing in your view?
No, it's definitely not a fair thing. This irresponsible government have wasted money and gone backwards. So they're going to come after mums and dads who have been working hard all their life, who maybe have bought a second home, which is now providing a home, a roof over somebody's head who may want to rent that. They've changed the rental laws and made it impossible for the landlords to provide a place of reasonableness. You know, in the country, it's not uncommon for people to, well, my house, you can't open every window. I couldn't rent that out. So they've made things difficult. But also now they're taxing people again, and so I can see landlords just saying this is too hard, and that's what we've already been seeing. We need roofs over people's heads. This is simply going to detract from being able to purchase more land, build more homes. We've got the windfall gains tax that's coming in July, where people won't be able to subdivide. If they do, they will lose 50% of their profit to tax. So, you know, farmers in our community are just going to say, no, not going to do that. We'll sit and we'll do nothing. So We're never going to get enough houses to help our rental supply, and the homeless situation is only going to increase.
All right. What about some of the changes announced to payroll taxes, for example? I think for small business, the tax-free threshold is being lifted to $900,000 next year, $1 million the following year. Presumably that'll be good news, though, for small businesses in our region?
It means less jobs. I mean, you talked about Midfield a moment ago. We've got large businesses in our region. We've got Midfield, we've got Bega Cheese, we've got Saputo, we've got Portland Aluminium, Keppel Prince. These large businesses want to employ more people. If you tax employment, they can only employ less. The government are trying to make out as though there are rich people who are doing very well. Well, businesses have struggled the most. We had the longest lockdowns in Victoria, and we now have the largest debt and less services than any other state. Our health service is in much more crisis than any other health service in this country, yet we get less per capita than any other state of this nation for our health budget. The government can dress it up as much as they like, but they have failed in their fiscal management of Victoria, and it is not simple to blame COVID or to say they didn't intend to borrow so much, but the Reserve Bank said it was going to be okay. Come on, these guys have economists advising them. They knew the risks and they went ahead regardless. You can't blame everybody. The blame sits squarely at Daniel Andrews' feet.
All right, one other little quick thing, which I hadn't seen sort of mentioned in many places, but I noticed it was just pointed out in the Herald Sun this morning, is that apprentices, I think, are now will now have free car registration, which is surely one good thing for people who are usually on pretty low wages.
Look, many apprentices haven't got their licence. In our part of the world, the issue is they can't get to work. So this government can dress things up, but things like a PET scanner that they're excited about allocating to Warrnambool Base Hospital, fantastic. I mean, most hospitals should have a PET scanner. It's like saying a house needs a toilet. These are basic fundamentals that are required in healthcare. I mean, the government hasn't got much to spook about in southwest Victoria. They have left our drug and alcohol centre completely off the budget papers. And even little things that they have promised, like Our Lady Helper Christian School or Childcare Centre in Portland, there is no timeline and there is no allocated money. But I will make sure I hold this government to account and get those two things delivered at the very least. All
right, Rama Britnell, thanks again for your time. We'll catch up with you soon.
Thank you.
Rama Britnell there, who is a Liberal Party member for the South West Coast, with, I guess, her responses to...